Good morning, friends and fellow traders. This is Doug Campbell with Right Way Options, and this is the Morning Market Prep video for May 10th, 2024. Well, my goodness, yesterday we had quite a surge in the market, and I was scratching my head for a little bit about that because we were looking at some relatively low volume conditions in the majority of the indexes. And I think I found an explanation for that. So today we are going to do just a little bit different in the morning market prep video. But before we get started with that, let's take a look at what happened overnight. The buying surge translated to buying around the world. Asian markets up across the board last night. And once again, they are talking about rate cut hopes in the United States as Hong Kong stocks hit a 10-month high. European markets also having some new record highs as the UK is shown from new data to be exiting its recession. And green across the board, they're decidedly bullish this morning. And U.S. futures also decidedly bullish this morning, pushing on higher into the 8th straight day up in the market. If we take a look at oil prices are also up this morning. Oil futures are up 63 cents at 79.89 a barrel. Brent is up 57 cents at 84.45 a barrel. We've got natural gas also moving just a little bit higher after a good strong surge yesterday, up just over a penny here this morning. If we take a look at precious metals, they are zooming here this morning. We have gold futures. Gold futures are running hot. They're up $43.50 this very second in the gold futures market per ounce. Silver is up substantially this morning, up 59 cents. Copper's up, platinum up, and palladium is up this morning. We're getting some really big moves here this morning in those metals. If we take a look at cryptos are also getting a pretty good day here today. Bitcoin bouncing up 665 points this morning. So what's going on? Well, one of the things that we're seeing here is we're seeing a pretty substantial easing in the long-term bonds. Not so much on the short-term bonds. Our short-term bonds, we have 3-month bonds at 5.40%. And yet our 2-year bonds are moving higher to 4.82%. And our 10-year bonds, they've declined. Our 10-year bonds at 4.46%, and our 30-year bonds have declined to 4.60%. So our inversion in the market is, well, getting worse, not better, as we're on the wrong side of the world here when it comes to bond yields. But the market is very, very happy about it this morning. So what does all that mean for today? Well, how about we settle in? Let's buckle up. Let's get ready for the Friday edition of the Morning Market Prep video. Good morning once again, everyone, and thank you so much for being here. I do truly appreciate it. To kick things off here this morning, let's take a look at these charts and see if we can gain a little bit of information about how we may want to approach the market for today. Remember, we want to look at these charts without a bias. We want to be trying to look into that price action and see what would happen if the bulls keep pushing, if the bears keep pushing, and try not to read our bias into the chart. Well, as the market was saying, we're trying to make an 8th straight day to the upside, and this is getting very, very stretched in that move to the upside. But that being said, if the bulls can continue to push, well, you can look right in here. As we can push right up into that level, we're going to run into a little bit of price resistance in the chart. Remember, we've got some bearish patterns here, evening star and full-on reversal pattern there. But we are so excited here right now, and I think I know why, in this pushback up, that there's every reason to believe that we could continue to push on through and maybe even reach up here and catch all-time highs in the chart. Now, we may not do that today. We certainly could, but I think the handwriting's on the wall. They're going to make every attempt to push us up here to all new highs in the diamonds here for sure. Let's take a look at the bearish side of things. Now, if the bears were to come back in, and certainly there is the possibility that that could exist, and just because we have this big surge up, just remember we're 8 days up this morning in the market, and typically a run like this is going to find some kind of a pullback. So if we happen to stumble, remember we've got some Fed speakers here today that could maybe cause us a little bit of a stumble, then that possibility that we could push back and maybe test some support levels here in the chart. And that wouldn't be out of the question, just resting back, finding a little bit of support in the chart. If we were to press on further down here, there is a little price support right through here that we could seek out, breaking down below that. And of course, that would be a pretty painful pullback if that were to occur. And then of course we'd start looking at these other levels down in here if we were to get that bearish and really push hard back to the downside. And remember, it's not out of question when we make a big run like this that we would end up coming back and testing our 50-day moving average at some point in time. Don't think that's likely today. We've got a lot of excitement here in the market, and that's all or nothing market continues to display all the emotion that we can muster. It's just either we're all rushing in or we're all running for the door. Certainly we've got a rush in happening right now in the market. If we take a look at our SPY, also nice push here to the upside, really starting to stretch. So if we start looking at levels up here, I'm just going to grab some of these lines down here at the bottom and push them up. You can see where we're at this morning. We're pushing really hard here in the market, trying to stretch up here toward these all-time highs. And there's every reason to believe if we can push through this little tiny resistance area in here in that black candle, then we're going to be up here testing all-time highs in the SPY pretty easily and really stretching away once again from that 50-day moving average, just a straight up run to the upside. If the bears were to find inspiration, well, you can see there's some price support right down in here. We could push back into this area with a little bit of rest back into that chart. And if they were to push a little bit further, well, maybe back down here to test support. I doubt that we would come all the way back down to the 50-day moving average today. We'd need some pretty bearish data to potentially do that. We're really excited right now, and everyone is really chasing in here at the moment. If we look at our QQQ also stretching up here in the chart, as you can see, really strong moves back to the upside. Every reason to believe if the bulls can continue to push here today that we might reach up here and test this area of resistance in the chart. So watch that closely. If we can break through there, well, it's not much of a stretch then to push us right on up, and we're testing all-time highs here in the market. If the bears were to find inspiration here today, maybe a push back and test this trend break here as a little bit of price support. That wouldn't be out of the question if the bears were to find some reason to engage. And then pushing back beyond that, maybe we start coming down progressively through these little support levels in the chart. Remember, we also have a big break here, the 50-day moving average. So pull back into there to test that 50-day moving average wouldn't be out of the question. I don't know that it happens today, but be watching carefully for that possibility. This many days to the upside, we would look for a little bit of rest to come in at any time. And then if we take a look, by the way, I want to make note here, if you look at the SPY here yesterday, as we're surging to the upside, I want you to notice that volume is declining. So we've got very light volume here on the QQQ, almost oddly low with such a stretch here to the upside. And then IWM also Little bit of improvement in volume on that yesterday as we stretched up through this resistance here in the chart. And you can see our next levels up if the bulls can continue to pushing up through here. I would say maybe up in here, test the top side of that big dark candle there to see if we can press there. And if we can get through that, then every reason to believe that we're up here testing this resistance in the chart once again on the Russell. Now, keeping in mind, getting through there, we're going to need a pretty good push here to break through that. There's a multi-year high over here, a multi-year resistance that we'll have to be testing to break through that level. Certainly is possible. I'm just suggesting watch that area carefully for the resistance. We've had a couple of failures here recently in that area on that stretch back up. Let's take a look quickly at our VIX. Our VIX continuing to fall. We're running into that major complacency area here in the market. As we continue to drop this market out, we're into the 12 handles here on the VIX. Good push this morning. We could even see us into the 11s, and we'll be back down here testing some lows for the year in our VIX with all of the enthusiasm to the upside. Let's take a look at our T20s here really quick. Our T21-22, this push back up to the upside with a gap up open this morning. Be prepared for that possibility that we will max this out or come very close to maxing this out on T21-22. Remember, this cannot go above 100. But watch that carefully. We'll be up here in that bearish reversal zone here today, which means if the bulls can continue to find that inspiration, we can hold up here. There's no reason that we can't hold up here and can continue to press to the upside as the chase is on here into Friday. But do not be surprised if we happen to stumble in any way, shape, or form that we could see the bears come in and engage after being so stretched to the upside and see that push to the downside. Just notice that we've opened a very large opportunity if there's any stumbling in the market where we could potentially pull back to. If we take a look at our T2108, T2108 had a good day yesterday, pushing on up. You can see we pressed up into this resistance here in the chart. Nice break above that 50% area here, looking good. Bulls are definitely in control. If we take a look from beyond there, well, we can certainly continue to push up and test these other resistance areas in the chart as we move back up. You will want to note here in T2108, we could be coming into a little bit of downtrend resistance right in here as well. So watch that carefully, but no question about it, bulls are in control. Now, if the bears were to push back, no particular worries here unless they were to really get engaged, but pushing back here toward that 50% area would not be a major surprise if the bears were to come in. And notice we've got good support between here and here, so I don't know that that would be a major worry if they push back unless something happened and they really engaged hard, and I don't see that happening today. If we take a look at T2107, same thing is true. We're pushing up in here, very bullish move. Honestly, not as much as you would expect because of the big push yesterday, but you can see right in here we're coming into a little bit of price resistance, and you'll notice in this chart as we continue to push up, we start reaching that very frothy area here in T2107 where we have found that pressure and sold back off. So I think we are getting closer to a little bit of a pullback. It may not happen today, but a little bit of rest, a little bit of pullback in the market. We're getting very, very close to that. So be careful with chasing too many things to the long side here in case that reversal does come into the market. And then our T2101, and this is where we're going to change today just a little bit. Our T2101 pushed up, but I want you to notice here right at the end of the day, we ended up showing that little bit of a hook in here in the chart. So we are holding up very, very bullishly. And I was looking at this thinking, how could we move so much in the market with breadth in the last couple of days, doing really so little? And honestly, I'm pretty confident that it is the corporate buybacks that are kicking in here to the market. So those big multi-billion-dollar corporate buybacks starting to come in, pushing things up. And one of the things that really cemented that, I'm going to pull a story over here from Bloomberg. And if you can take a look right in here, this was just out 22 hours ago. And you can see that Bezos, Zuckerberg lead the Magnificent Seven insider stock sales. So they're utilizing those corporate buybacks here for the big guys, big folks to unload. And if you take a look across here, there's quite a few, dozens of executives and directors at the firms recently boosting their share sales. So they're taking advantage of the corporate buybacks, picking the stock up and giving them an opportunity to sell or get out, and taking profits on their moves. And you can see there's quite a list here of selling going on from the corporate insiders, directors and presidents and CEOs and things selling, taking advantage of the corporate buybacks going on. So that might be one of the reasons why we were able to see such a stretch to the upside and have volume relatively so low. And I thought this was an interesting statement in here. They all understand that pigs get fat and hogs get slaughtered. And no one can time the top of the stock market perfectly, and it certainly looks pretty frothy right now. Now, the reason I'm doing that is to just provide out that little bit of hint or warning that we could be reaching a very, very frothy point in the market, in that place where we can pull back. Corporate insiders are taking advantage of this move to sell. So you'll want to be a little bit careful here and be watching for that possibility of that pushback. And does this mean, I want to be really clear on this, does this mean that we're going to immediately see selling in the market? And the answer to that is no. And the reason I say that is because if they continue to push the corporate buybacks, they're going to continue to push this market higher. They're convincing, they're really working hard to convince retail to buy, as we're seeing they are starting to sell. Now, what that may mean is sometime here in the near future, we may be slipping into a little bit of a problem here in the market. We're seeing all of the debt, consumer debt is maxing out. We're seeing all of the buy now, pay later systems running into trouble. We're seeing defaults starting to rally. So I think the big CEOs, the big corporate leaders are starting to see a problem here coming. But that doesn't mean we can't make new highs in the market and continue to push to the upside based on those corporate buybacks. So keep a close eye on that, and just remember, don't just buy into the whole narrative of the market. Oh my gosh, I'm missing out, I got to chase in. Remember that statement. It certainly looks pretty frothy right now, and the big folks out there, the big corporate leaders, are taking advantage of those corporate buybacks, and they are selling. So be kind of careful as we stretch up in here into these areas, these all-time highs. We may be able to push this up for the next 2 months. I have no idea how long those corporate buybacks are going to have this kind of effect, pushing us to the upside. But we do want to be watching for that potential of a reversal. So watch that carefully. Now, what are the things that can cause some of those issues and problems for us here in the market? Well, certainly it could be what we see in our economic calendar. Now, our economic calendar today, we've got a lot of Fed speakers. But if you remember yesterday, I suggested in the jobless claims, watch that carefully. If the jobless claims, we got a hint last Friday that we might start seeing those claims come up. And I said, if if those claims do come up, we could likely see bonds come down a little bit, and that would be bullish for the market. And that's kind of what happened there yesterday. We got a nice little increase in joblessness. So think about that. That's the market is celebrating more joblessness here in the market, meaning that companies are slowing down. Things like that are happening. So there's another hint here. But that also helps us with the idea that the Fed may run into a situation where they're going to have to cut rates. Now, I suspect when we hear from all of these Fed members today, we heard from Daly yesterday saying, nope, higher for longer. We've got to get back to our 2% target. And we're a long ways from that. As a matter of fact, our inflation is growing at about 4% a month. And we need to see more data, or they're going to need to see more data to hold credibility before they can really start cutting. Unless they see some major problems beginning with the banks, and right now it's buy everything right now in the major banking institutions. Boy, they're really pushing to the upside there. So no problems there, and we're certainly not seeing layoffs really pick up to an extent to really raise concerns or alarm bells at the Federal Reserve yet, because our numbers are still too high. So watch that carefully as we move through today. We could certainly get a parade of speakers saying, no, we're going to wait until higher for longer. We're going to wait until we continue to see these numbers coming down. If you remember what Goolsbee said earlier this week, he's not ruling out rate increases. So if these Fed members come out today, that could really dampen the spirits of the market. And after 8 days straight up, possible we could see some selling. I'm not saying that we will, but translate that into next week and we could see a little bit of a pullback in the market. And that's all I'd be expecting at the moment. No major crash or anything like that. Just look for a possible pullback that could begin at any time after such a big stretch to the upside. So I hope you guys find that helpful. I'm not trying to predict anything here in the market, but what I am showing you is some of those concern levels here in the market that could say once we get this really frothy move and we see insiders moving out of the market, well, there is a reason why they're utilizing those corporate buybacks to help them get out of the market, because they see the future here of the next couple quarters as maybe not as strong as what they're trying to display in the index charts themselves. Let's take a look at our, by the way, remember we've got a consumer sentiment number here as well, Baker Hughes rig, and a treasury statement as well. On the earnings calendar, we have a light day on the earnings calendar today. One of our biggest notables, AKAM, yesterday after the bell reported earnings, well, that kind of hurt. A big move to the downside there on that one, but we had quite a mix. There were some really good ones, some really punished ones yesterday. So the earnings today, we have a very small list of potential notables here this morning, so I'm going to run through them all. We have AMCX. AMCX will be reporting today. ANIP. We've got ROAD, DOCN, DNOW, ENB, SLVM, TU, and and that's it. That's it for today of the notables. So you'll want to be paying attention to those, and these are all before the bell this morning. There will be no notable earnings after the bell today. Lots of really tiny small caps. There are reports, but mostly those really tiny small caps and things like that. And there's certainly more reports this morning than what I displayed, but these are the ones that I consider to be at least more notable than some of these little tiny stocks that have very little chance of moving the market. So those are your notables for today. How about we take a look at some stocks that could be setting up? But before we do that, everyone, if you could do me that quick favor If this is the first time you've seen these videos, if you could please click that subscribe button on YouTube and then also click that bell icon when it pops up so you'll be notified every time I post a video. And if you find these videos to be useful or helpful, if you could do me that favor and click that thumbs up button, leave a brief comment, that helps the channel to continue to grow. And I really appreciate that kind support, folks sharing the video, the nice comments. And I apologize yesterday, I didn't answer or didn't get to those comments. Kind of got carried away with teaching in the trading rooms yesterday. So missed out on answering some of those comments. Today I should be back on that task. Thank you so much, everyone. I very much appreciate it. You humble me every day with your kindness. Let's take a look at some of these stocks that could be setting up. And remember, guys, these are not recommendations to buy or sell any security. You need to do your own due diligence, be very, very careful, follow your own risk tolerances and your trading rules. Never, ever blindly follow anyone else's trade ideas. Well, first off, let's take a look at what we've got going here in the dollar this morning. Dollar yesterday bounced around here quite a bit. We could see the dollar weaken just a little bit because of those long-term bonds, the 10 and the 30 year pulling back here just a little bit. But when that starts to happen, boy, we really need to be taking a look at some of these precious metals. Take a look at a GLD. Nice little downtrend break, nice little hold. Right now, it's looking like that chance that we could be moving back up, testing all-time highs here in gold. You might want to take a look at PHYS as well. PHYS is a physical gold, silver, gold ETF, not gold silver, but gold ETF, and you can see we've got this move to the upside where GLD is more of just paper gold. This is actually putting your name on physical gold. So keep an eye on that, really stretching up here this morning after a big pop yesterday. And then of course silver, also silver looking really strong. Had a strong day yesterday. It's gapping higher this morning into some resistance, and looks like there is that chance that we could see all-time highs in silver here in the very near future. So watch that carefully. You might also let's see, PSLV is what you look for some physical silver here in market. Nice looking chart there as well. Now, having said that, we're going to have to be taking a look at other metals in here. Take a look at FCX trying to gap out here this morning. We've been in this consolidation range. There is every reason to believe, the way this is moving this morning, that we could see copper or Freeport moving on through and breaking out of this resistance area. SCCO making a nice move here this morning as well, trying to pop on up, and we'll be dealing with this resistance, seeing whether or not we can break through that area. Take a look at Alcoa. Alcoa was pushing hard yesterday. It was alerting back and forth through my alert here. This morning we're seeing a little bit of a stretch to the upside there in Alcoa, so watch that one closely. Let's take a look at some of our steel out here. Steel commodities getting a nice little surge here yesterday. Not quite ready for just a real confident bullish move, but we're starting to see some of those steel stocks making some of those moves to the upside as well. So keep a close eye on that. Again, dollar pulls back, then we typically see energy, commodities, and things like that moving higher. Nice surge yesterday, coming right up here to test that downtrend here in the chart. This morning we're trying to sneak out from underneath that downtrend and push on higher. So if we do see the dollar pull back and those bonds relaxing here today, then don't be too surprised if oil and oil stocks move to the upside. I would really keep an eye on natural gas here. UNG breaking the downtrend. I was making mention of this yesterday. For the folks in hit and run candlesticks and right way options, this is a very, very bullish pattern starting to form up here. Notice we're up above our 50-day moving average, finding those buyers stepping in here, and every reason to believe that they could continue to stretch, particularly if we see that dollar weakening. So keep an eye here on UNG. You could also take a look at Boyle for some natural gas play, and another one of those rounded bottom breakout patterns and a very big upside potential here if we continue to see that energy. What we usually target here on RBB is a 200-day moving average. So look how far up that is. Now, it won't go there in a straight line. We know that, but watch that carefully. It may start working its way up here. We may start seeing the return of some natural gas here breaking through these bottoming patterns. So watch those. Let's take a look at some other places in the market. I mentioned the financials showing lots of strength. Better go here for those financials showing lots of strength yesterday. And my goodness, were they really pushing up, holding that higher low. They broke the downtrend, breaking through resistance here, just really slicing hard to the upside. Well, I would watch some of these financials. There's every reason, particularly the big financials here in XLF, that we could push on up and we might break out to some new highs here in our financials. Take a look at Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs has been on a tear here lately, just stretching and stretching and stretching to the upside. You'll notice if I pull this back, we're talking all-time highs here in Goldman Sachs, even though, if you remember, their last couple of quarters of earnings, not all that special, but it doesn't really seem to matter at the moment. Everyone wants to buy financials. So there they go to the upside, really, really strong in that move. Take a look at Bank of America. Bank of America, good push, testing resistance in the chart. Take a look at that pattern, though. We've got an inverted head and shoulders pattern setting up here. Break the neckline in here, and you've got some pretty good upside that could occur in BAC. If you take a look at Citibank, we've got a very similar pattern. There's that inverted head and shoulders type pattern in here, pushing against that resistance in the chart. Every reason to believe if we can get enough bullish move, those could push on through. So keep a close eye on that. I'm going to continue and keep talking about utilities. They continue to just tear it up to the upside, really stretching. Now, would I chase it up here? Would I be a buyer up here? No, I would be looking for a pullback. And a big gap up day like today, or big back gap up opening following through from that push up yesterday might be the very reason to start taking some profits on some of these stocks that are really stretching to the upside here. So keep an eye on that. Take a look at like NEE. My goodness, what a run here in NEE. Beautiful upside move, and a lot of these utilities are looking great like that. So keep a close eye on those. And as you remember yesterday, I was talking about some things in the grain commodities. Take a look at corn. Corn had a pretty good pullback here yesterday, coming back into price support. But if that dollar does weaken, notice right there, there's a little trend, some price support. Look for that next opportunity for something like that to begin to push on higher here. Keep a close eye on some of those grain commodities here in the market. Last but not least, I want to mention, I've been talking about this for some time, and RTX really making that move this week, pushing through some resistance levels. If you'll notice over here, we're looking at all-time highs in RTX, and every reason to believe that that could continue to move up. The geopolitical situations are not getting better. I think in many ways relationships are getting worse between countries. So watch that carefully here as that continues to push. And if you could take a look at stocks like General Dynamics, also making that nice move to the upside. Lockheed Martin is working this breakout here of this major resistance here in the chart. So keep an eye on some of those aerospace and defense sectors of the market. So, thank you so much for being here today. I do truly appreciate it. Do me a favor if you thought that little extra comment section was useful for today, please let me know. If you want more of that kind of content, leave that in the description. I want to wish you all a fantastic Friday and just a wonderful weekend with your family. So with that, everyone, be careful, be safe. I wish you all the best, and I'll see you right back here bright and early Monday morning. Take care.